Hello, Carlos Samaniego here. We're going to talk today about the franchise tax boards, how to avoid common mistakes, and why you should never call the franchise tax board alone. And this topic kind of came up with a phone call I had yesterday. Somebody had found one of my YouTube videos. You may be watching this on YouTube, but saw one of my Facebook YouTubes and started watching it. And he actually started watching my videos after he had spoken to the franchise tax board. And kind of let me give you a little summary of kind of what had happened to him. He owed roughly $21,000. I'm trying to remember my conversation, but he owed over $20,000. And he had sold a vehicle. It was like a recreational vehicle. Got a large amount of money and stuck it into his bank account. And literally 48 hours later, the franchise tax board had went in there and taken out over $20,000 out of his bank account. And he did what most people would do. You know, if that happens to you, right, you're kind of confused what's going on. He actually picked up the phone and called the franchise tax board. That's kind of mistake number one. Is you want to have a game plan when you do make that phone call when this happens, especially when money has been initially taken out of your bank account. Something to remember, and I'm not going to go too much into detail. When the franchise tax board or the IRS takes money out of your bank account, they haven't physically taken out money. They've actually just put the money's on hold at the bank. It's on hold, and the IRS and the franchise tax board is giving you an opportunity to call them to discuss with them your tax situation and why they actually put that hold. But when you owe that kind of money and they're taking that amount of money, there's a much larger issue going on with your tax situation. You know, I've had many of people call my office. They had a few $100s, maybe $1,000, maybe even a couple $1,000, and a lot of times I talk to them. I'm like, well, did you owe the money? They're like, yeah, I didn't pay my tax bill. In this situation, I believe the person said that he didn't believe he even owed the money. But the franchise tax board had put a hold on over $21,000 in his bank account. Well, he immediately called because, hell, wouldn't you call, right? If that actually happens to you. But that was kind of mistake number one, is you got to be careful when you call them, because a lot of times what's happening on those phone calls, because once they've actually taken money out like that, it means that you haven't communicated with them. So their number one job is going to be just to try to get information out of you. And with him, he started talking. It was interesting that the franchise tax board told him that he only had, they told him 5 days before the money is goes from the bank directly back to the franchise tax board, which once that happens, it's almost impossible to get your money back because it's already been released to the state of California. So they were kind of rushing them. It sounds like, from what he told me, that they were rushing them to make a deal with them. And when I say make a deal, negotiate with them, because he told them, hey, you took my money. I'm not working. That's the money I need to be able to survive, to pay my bills. And the state of California is like, pretty much too bad. Fortunately, the state of California actually gave him half of it back, which was, he was happy about that. But still, he's like, I still needed that other money. And believe it or not, there are ways of getting most of that money back and working with the franchise tax board. But it did not sound like they were giving him that opportunity, and almost kind of gave him the misinformation. So it's really important, if you're going to talk to these people, understand your situation, what's going on. Did you not file tax returns? Is the debt because you really owed the money, you just haven't paid your taxes? There's a lot of things, like when I call them, I want to know. That way, when I pick up the phone and call them, I'm in a better place to negotiate with them in terms of trying to get the maximum dollar back from them. And, I felt bad for the guy. I really felt terrible for him, because it sounded like, he was kind of in a tight situation, and he said he even knew something didn't sound right. In other words, they were way too eager to keep a very large portion of that amount of that money and only give them a certain amount. And they told them that there's no way they could actually give them back any more than the 50% that they actually gave them back. And that is incorrect. You know, one of the things I'm doing, you know, I want to understand your situation. So when I go and speak on your behalf, you know, not only do I know your situation, what's happening in your life currently financially, but I also know what's happening. You know, I speak to them and I can ask them questions. What's going on? How did you come up with that amount? Are they made up amounts by the Franchise Tax Board? I've had a lot of conversations with people saying, you know, if you don't file your tax returns, the state of California will make up a return for you, and just come up with a liability. And we have the right to challenge those liabilities. So again, I get, you know, and I'm writing all this in my book. Let me share with you. This is the book I've actually, right now it's still being edited. It's Understanding the California Franchise Tax Board, the Taxpayer Survivor Guide, navigating troubles and navigating tax troubles in California with the Franchise Tax Board. So that is a book that I'm actually writing right now, or editing. We're trying to get this out. I'm kind of behind on getting it out, but it should be out, I'm hoping, here in the next 30 to 60 days maximum, because people really need this. Just ultimately, you know, I didn't plan this. I just turned on the video and just wanted to talk, is that one, be careful calling them. You may want to speak to somebody that understands and works with the Franchise Tax Board. Two, understand that when you call them, they're going to start asking you a lot of questions, and you might accidentally say something that might make your situations worse. So you kind of have to know your rights, and also understand you're also emotional. I mean, just sit back and imagine you have, you know, you sell something, you have a kind of a savings account. You're thinking you're going to be able to pay some bills off, be able to pay your rent, your utilities, and then all of a sudden it gets swiped. That's very emotional. That is in a very emotional situation, and you may get on the phone and you may start yelling, and that's not going to help your situation at all. So, you know, be very careful. You know, if you're watching this video, if you had a bank levy recently with the Franchise Tax Board, you got less than 10 days to attempt to get that money back. So remember that time frame. If you've gotten a wage garnishment, you've gotten a bank levy, or you've gotten notices saying that you owe this a large amount of money, and you have no idea how they came up with that amount of money, you want to speak to somebody that that deals with the Franchise Tax Board. I talk to them literally probably on a daily basis right now. I speak to them a lot. I have special phone numbers off here to the right that for different departments of the Franchise Tax Board. A lot of times people will try to call, attempt to call. They're spending hours upon hours on the phone and can't get through. I normally can get through within a reasonable time frame. But if you need assistance, you know, always feel free to reach out to our offices. I'm going to kind of you can book an appointment at calltaxea.com. That is my online calendar, where you can actually just book an appointment. If you're not comfortable using the computer, our secretaries answer our phone 24 hours a day, 909-570-1103. This is our number. And if you haven't gotten our tax book, taxdebtbook.com, it's my free book. I got a picture of my book. It's sitting over here. How to make the IRS an offer they can't refuse. If you want a free electronic copy of the book, you can always pick up that book there. But with that, guys, I'm going to get back to work here. Again, this is kind of just an impromptu video after what had happened to that person that called my office. Unfortunately, there's not much I can really do to help him specifically now in terms of trying to get that money back. But he is calling me because he's also dealing with an IRS issue where he's going to become a client of mine, and we're going to be able to help him with his IRS stuff and hopefully fix the actual balance due that the state of California claims that he owes. With that, talk to you guys later. Bye-bye for now.